You could picture this. A cold January day, a 43-year-old man is being sworn in as his country's chief executive. Stand right there beside him, his predecessor, a really famous general who only about 15 years before led the nation's forces in a war that ended, with Germany's defeat. This young leader, he was raised Roman Catholic, and he spends the next 5 hours watching parades held just for him. Stays up celebrating till 3 a.m. So you probably think you know who I'm describing, right? Yeah, most people's minds immediately jump to John F. Kennedy. But there's a catch. The date I kind of slipped in there, January 30th, 1933. That changes everything. I was actually describing Adolf Hitler. It's a pretty stark example, isn't it? How much our assumptions, what we think is true based on, incomplete info really affects how we act. Think about the belief that the world is flat. For centuries, that perceived truth just limited everything, exploration, progress. It wasn't until the real truth, the world around became accepted that, bang, human behavior shifted massively. People started crossing oceans. Trade routes exploded. Ideas spread. It was this incredible burst of innovation, all from correcting one single false assumption. So today, we're doing a deep dive into how organizations, and actually individuals too, really make decisions. And maybe more importantly, why some achieve this, extraordinary lasting success while others, they seem to do all the right things, but they just struggle or fizzle out. We're digging into Simon Sinek's really revolutionary concept, start with WATY. It's a different way of looking at things, an alternative to maybe our usual assumptions about what drives success, and crucially builds that real deep loyalty. Think of this as maybe a shortcut to understanding what truly inspires people to act and builds that lasting influence, way beyond just short-term wins. Okay, so let's unpack this. Sinek's core idea, the foundation really, is the golden circle. I bet a lot of you have seen this. It's got 3 rings, right? The outer one is what, your products, the services you offer.
Right.
Then the middle ring is how that's your differentiating process, your unique selling proposition, how you do what you do. And then right at the very center, the core, is the WHY, your purpose, your cause, your belief. It's bigger than just making money. Now, the thing is, and this is what Sinek points out, most organizations, most people even, communicate from the outside in.
Yeah, that's the default, isn't it?
Totally. They start with what they do. Maybe they get to how they do it, but they rarely, if ever, actually articulate WHY they do it.
Right.
It leads to these, pretty standard kind of uninspiring messages like, we make great computers, they're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one?
Yeah. And what's so fascinating is how the truly inspiring leaders and companies just completely flip that. They communicate from the inside out, always starting with WHY. Apple's the classic example.
The go-to, yeah.
So if you rewrite that standard message the way Apple actually communicates, it sounds completely different. It's more like, everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. And we happen to make great computers. Want to buy one.
Wow. Yeah, just hearing it like that, the difference is huge.
It is. That simple reversal, just changing the order, it totally transforms the impact. You feel it differently. You're suddenly much more interested. It kind of bypasses the logical brain.
And Sinek argues this isn't just, clever wordplay or marketing spin. There's actually biology behind why that inside-out approach hits us so hard.
Exactly. This is where it gets really, really insightful. He connects it directly to how our brains are structured, the what level, the facts, features, the rational stuff, language itself that corresponds to our neocortex, the newest part of the brain, the thinking part. But the WHY level and the how W to some extent, that maps to the limbic brain. And the limbic brain is responsible for all our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making.
Okay. So the WHY talks to the part of the brain that actually makes the decision.
Precisely. And here's the kicker. The limbic brain has no capacity for language.
No language.
None. That's why we often struggle to explain our feelings, like why we trust someone or why a decision just feels right.
Gut decisions.
Exactly. Those gut feelings, they originate in the limbic brain, which is controlling our choices, but we can't easily put words to it because that part doesn't do language.
Yeah.
It's like trying to explain falling in love just by listing someone's attributes. The feeling itself is deeper, nonverbal.
So it really does boil down to that core idea that Sinek hammers home, doesn't it? People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it.
That's the crux of it. It changes everything about how you should approach communication, marketing, leadership, everything.
Okay, so if that's inspiration, let's contrast it with how most businesses actually try to influence us. Sinek calls these tactics manipulations. And we see them everywhere, right? Price drops, special promotions, using fear like limited time offer or fear of missing out.
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Or appealing to our aspirations. Buy this and be like, Sinek, or even just peer pressure. Everyone's got one.
The classic carrots and sticks.
Right. And let's be clear, these things do work. They can definitely drive sales, get people to buy things, maybe even come back for more in the short term.
But, and this is a really critical distinction Sinek makes, there's a huge difference between repeat business and true loyalty.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Repeat business is just someone buying from you again, maybe out of convenience or habit. Loyalty. Loyalty is different. Loyalty is when customers are willing to turn down a better product or maybe a lower price just to keep doing business with you.
They don't even shop around.
Often they don't. They trust you. Sinek uses this example of Samsung back in the early 2000s with their rebates. They had these incredibly complex rules in the fine print, like one per address, which actually disqualified people living in apartments.
Wow. Sneaky.
Yeah, it definitely generated sales, transactions happen, but did it build trust? Did it build loyalty? Absolutely not. It likely did the opposite. It felt manipulative.
And it's easy to see why companies lean on manipulations, though. They offer, predictable, measurable, immediate results.
Totally.
Especially when you're under pressure for quarterly numbers or whatever. That quick sales bump can seem way more attractive than the slow burn of building trust.
It's the siren song of short-term metrics. But the long-term cost can be immense, and that's where inspiration really shows its power. Think about Southwest Airlines after 9/11. It was obviously a devastating time for airlines. But Sinek shares stories of Southwest customers actually sending them checks, unsolicited.
Really? Sending money?
Yeah. Like one note with a $1,000 check just said something like, "You've been so good to me, I wanted to help you out." Now, obviously, a few checks weren't going to save the airline financially. But symbolically, wow.
That's incredible.
It shows this deep sense of partnership, this belief in the company's WHY that goes way beyond just buying a cheap flight. That's the kind of bond inspiration can build.
So when you put them side by side like that, manipulation versus inspiration, the long-term picture becomes crystal clear. Manipulations, they cost money to maintain. The effects are temporary. And honestly, they create stress for the business constantly having to invent new ones and for the customer who feels pressured.
Right. It's a transaction-based relationship, and it's fragile.
Whereas inspiration, that builds something lasting, real loyalty. And Sinek argues it ultimately reduces costs because loyal customers stick around, they advocate for you, you're not constantly fighting for the next sale. Okay, so starting with WHY is clearly powerful, but what happens down the road? When a company does find success based on its initial WHY, Sinek talks about something called the split. This sounds like a major challenge.
It is. It's a really critical point for organizations as they grow. What happens is, it's like they achieved the goal, scaled the mountain, but lost the map that showed them why they climbed it. Walmart is a fascinating and maybe cautionary example Sinek uses. Sam Walton, when he founded it, had this really clear, powerful WHY. It was about serving people, bringing value to communities, treating employees well.
The original vision.
Right. But after Walton passed away, that WHY started to blur. The focus shifted almost entirely to the what of being cheap, low prices, tight margins.
And they got huge doing that.
Oh, undeniably successful in terms of size, revenue. The what metrics were off the charts. But the perception of the company really shifted. It became seen much more negatively, often associated just with low wages or impacting small businesses. And Sinek's point is, even when they did good things, like implementing some early environmental policies, people were skeptical.
Because the underlying WHY wasn't clear or trusted anymore.
Precisely. Yeah. Without that clear, authentic WHY driving things, even positive actions can ring hollow or be seen as just, PR.
So how do you prevent that? How do you stay true to the WHY as you grow? Sinek offers a really practical tool here, the celery test. Can you explain how that works? It sounds healthy.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. Basically, the celery test acts as a filter for decision-making. Everything who you hire, which companies you partner with, what products you develop, how you market things, everything should be filtered through your WHY. The analogy is, if your WHY is about living a healthy lifestyle, you go to the store with a list, maybe celery, rice milk.
Okay, sounds healthy.
Then you see donuts on sale. Or maybe chocolate cake. They look tempting, might offer a quick sugar rush.
Like a quick win in business.
Exactly. But do they align with your WHY of being healthy? No. So you don't buy them. They fail the celery test. Any decision, any opportunity, if it doesn't align with and support your core WHY, you should say no, even if it looks appealing on the surface.
That requires discipline.
Immense discipline. Sinek uses the example of Volkswagen trying to launch the Phaeton, a high-end luxury car.
Oh, I remember that. It didn't really work, did it?
Not really, because VW's established YY was always about, the people's car, affordability, reliability for the masses. The Phaeton just didn't fit. It failed their implicit celery test.
Unlike, say, Toyota creating Lexus or Honda creating Acura.
Exactly. They understood they needed a new brand, a new what, to enter the luxury space, because putting a luxury car under the Toyota or Honda name wouldn't align with their core WHY of value and reliability. They passed the celery test by creating something consistent but distinct.
That makes so much sense. So it's not about the WHY being rigid, like you can never innovate or try new things.
No, not at all. The WHY is the compass, not the map. It gives you direction. The hey, W, and what can absolutely evolve and adapt. Lexus and Acura are perfect examples. The WHY of quality and innovation stayed true, but they created new whats to reach a different market under a new banner that made sense. The real danger, the real test of leadership, is when those donut opportunities pop up, the ones that promise quick profits or easy growth but would subtly dilute or contradict the core WHY. Saying no, then, that takes real conviction.
I can definitely think of a few donuts I've personally been tempted by that probably would have failed my own internal celery test. It's surprisingly easy to drift.
It really is. And when that WHY gets fuzzy, when it's not clear, what happens? Companies inevitably start competing solely on the what's price, features, quality, service.
They become commodities.
Exactly. You lose your distinctiveness, your deeper connection with customers, and then it's just a race to the bottom on price or a constant struggle to add more features, which just increases stress all around. And this all loops back beautifully to leadership and fundamentally to trust. Trust, Sinek emphasizes, is a feeling. It lives in that limbic brain we talked about. It's not built from a tech list of rational features.
Right, you can't logic your way into trust.
No. It emerges when people feel that an organization or a leader is driven by something bigger than just self-gain, when they believe in the WHY. Think about Gordon Bethune turning around Continental Airlines in the 90s. They were notoriously awful, bleeding money, terrible morale.
From worst to first, right?
Pretty much. And how did he do it? He focused on the employees first. He started by literally cleaning the planes, improving the work environment. His message was simple. It's just nicer to come to work when the place is clean. He built trust internally first. He understood that if his employees felt valued and had a reason to believe, they would take care of the customers. Happy employees lead to happy customers, which leads to happy shareholders. In that order.
He gave them a WHY that resonated with them. And that connects directly to hiring too, doesn't it? It's not just about finding someone with the right resume.
Absolutely. Great organizations, the ones built on a strong WHY, they hire for belief first, skills second. They look for people who are already predisposed to their WHY. Sinek calls them good fits.
You can teach skills, but it's hard to teach belief.
Exactly. Think about Ernest Shackleton and his Antarctic expedition. Stranded for months in impossible conditions.
The endurance, yeah. Incredible story.
Incredible. And not a single person died. Sinek attributes this, in large part, to how Shackleton hired. His famous ad basically said, men wanted for hazardous journey, low wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success.
Wow. Talk about filtering.
Right. He wasn't looking for just any skilled sailor. He was looking for people who shared his spirit of adventure, his resilience, people whose personal WHY aligned with the mission's WHY. That shared belief created incredible loyalty and grit. So when we talk about charismatic leaders, what really makes them charismatic? Sinek argues it's the clarity of their WHY. They have this unwavering belief in a future that doesn't exist yet, a vision. And crucially, they can communicate that WHY in a way that inspires others.
Not just with words, but through their actions too.
Absolutely. It's the consistency. That inspiration creates this powerful sense of belonging, this deep trust. It acts like a safety net. When people within an organization trust their leaders, trust the WHY, they feel safe to take risks, to innovate, to push boundaries, because they know someone has their back. Like Air Force General Lori Robinson, her focus was always on clearing a path for her people, enabling them to excel because they trusted her leadership and her purpose.
So wrapping this up, the impact of starting with WHY is pretty profound, isn't it? It's not just a business strategy. It feels much bigger than that.
It really is. It clarifies decisions. It builds that fierce, unwavering loyalty. It fosters trust, both inside the organization and with your customers or audience.
It's about genuinely inspiring people, moving them to act because they believe, not because they've been manipulated or incentivized.
Couldn't have said it better.
So the big question for you listening is, what does all this mean for you? We've talked about Apple, Southwest, even historical figures. But the power of WHY isn't reserved for them. What if you started approaching your own challenges, maybe your career path, even your relationships, by consciously asking and acting from your WHY first? What kind of impact could that have? What if you shifted your focus from just competing with others to truly committing to outdoing yourself, driven by your own clear purpose? Something to think about.